Allison Carter, a 27-year-old woman living in Atlanta, Georgia, who thought she had a simple infection, until it spiraled into a nightmare. I had no idea that a normal Tuesday morning could be the start of a nightmare. I was 27, working 2 jobs, juggling a social life, and barely sleeping. So when I started noticing the burning sensation when I peed, I shrugged it off. Probably a UTI, right? Stress could do weird things to your body. By Friday, the burning was worse. There was this discharge that definitely wasn't normal, and a weird ache deep inside my pelvis. I Googled, bad idea, and everything pointed to a simple sexually transmitted infection, gonorrhea. Embarrassing, sure, but treatable. 1 quick antibiotic shot, a few pills, and I'd be fine. I made an appointment at a walk-in clinic. The nurse practitioner barely looked at me when I described my symptoms. She nodded, scribbled on her pad, and said, "Probably gonorrhea. Happens all the time. We'll do a quick test and give you a shot. You'll feel better by Monday." I didn't think twice. I rolled up my sleeve, took the shot, grabbed my antibiotics, and went home feeling relieved. But Monday came, and I wasn't better. I was worse. The burning had turned into stabbing pain. Sitting hurt, walking hurt. I couldn't make it through my shift at the cafe without feeling like I was going to collapse. By Tuesday night, I had a fever so high I was hallucinating. I went back to the clinic, shivering under my jacket even though it was 80 degrees outside. The nurse practitioner looked concerned this time. "Weird," she mumbled, flipping through my chart. "You should have responded to the meds by now." She ordered more tests. Blood work, swabs, urine samples. "You probably just need a different antibiotic," she said. But when she called me 2 days later, her voice was shaking. "Allison," she said, "you need to come in immediately. We have to talk about your results." I sat in the cold clinic room, staring at the outdated posters about safe sex and flu shots. My palms were slick with sweat. It was supposed to be simple. I wasn't supposed to still be sick. The door creaked open, and the nurse practitioner, Emily, stepped inside with a stack of papers in her hand. She wasn't smiling. "Allison," she said, sitting down across from me. Her voice was soft but serious. "Your tests came back. You have gonorrhea, yes, but it's not responding to the usual treatments. We sent your sample to the state lab. The strain you have, it's resistant to most antibiotics." I blinked at her. "Resistant?" She nodded. "It's called antibiotic-resistant gonorrhea. Some people are starting to call it a superbug. It's rare, but it's out there. And somehow you caught it." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What does that mean? You can't cure it?" "We have a few options," she said carefully. "There are some stronger, last resort antibiotics we can try, but they're harder to get. You'll need to see a specialist. And Allison, you're going to need to be very careful. This kind of infection can spread fast. It can cause pelvic inflammatory disease, infertility, even sepsis if it gets bad enough." Infertility. Sepsis. Last resort antibiotics. IT felt like the floor dropped out from under me. "How did this happen?" I whispered. Emily hesitated. "Gonorrhea has been evolving for years. Overusing antibiotics for everything, colds, flus, acne, has made bacteria smarter, stronger. And with people not always finishing their prescriptions, infections like this get a chance to adapt." I buried my face in my hands. My mind was racing. Had it been Mark? We'd only been dating 3 months. I thought he was clean. He swore he was. But how could I even bring that up now? Emily reached out, her voice gentler. "This isn't your fault. You did nothing wrong. But we need to act quickly." I nodded numbly. She gave me a referral to an infectious disease specialist downtown and told me to go immediately. I stumbled out of the clinic, the sun blinding, the city buzzing around me like I wasn't standing there about to break apart. That night, lying in bed alone, every ache in my body felt like a threat. Every future plan, kids' marriage, even just feeling normal again, felt like it was slipping through my fingers. And this was only the beginning. The infectious disease clinic smelled like antiseptic and fear. Posters warned about MRSA, diff, superbugs I'd never even heard of. It hit me then, this wasn't just a personal nightmare. This was a warning. A future none of us were ready for. Dr. Patel, the specialist assigned to my case, was a brisk woman in her early 40s with kind eyes but a no-nonsense demeanor. After a quick review of my charts, she sat across from me and laced her fingers together. Allison, you're dealing with a strain of Neisseria gonorrhoeae that's resistant to ceftriaxone, the strongest antibiotic we have for this infection. It's also showing resistance to azithromycin and doxycycline. So, what does that mean? My voice cracked. It means, she said gently, we're going to have to use a combination therapy. Intravenous antibiotics, stronger and more toxic than usual. You'll be monitored closely. We have to hit this hard and fast before it spreads into your bloodstream. Into my bloodstream, I repeated, almost laughing. I thought this was just, down there. She shook her head. Not anymore. Gonorrhea isn't playing by old rules. It can spread to the joints, the heart, even the brain if untreated. And when it's resistant, our window for stopping it gets dangerously small. I sat there, numb, as the nurse started prepping me for my first 4 infusion. The next few days blurred into a haze of hospital visits, blood draws, infusions that left me nauseous and dizzy. My arms were bruised from needles. My head pounded constantly. I could feel my body waging war inside itself, and I wasn't sure who was winning. Mark, my boyfriend, texted a few times. Hope you're okay. LMK if you need anything. That was it. No call. No visit. No apology that I guess a superbug wasn't the kind of baggage he signed up for. One night, lying on my couch, a heating pad on my pelvis and a 4-line taped to my arm, I broke down, sobbing, shaking, furious. Why hadn't anyone warned us about this? Why weren't doctors screaming from the rooftops about what was happening? Why was I learning about it now, when it was already too late? I was just one person, one body, but it felt like I was carrying a whole system's failure on my shoulders that I promised myself. Then, if I survived this, I would tell everyone. Because if this could happen to me, it could happen to anyone. And most people wouldn't even see it coming until it was too late. 2 weeks later, the worst was over, or so they told me. The infection hadn't spread to my blood. The 4 antibiotics had finally started beating it back little by little. But the cost? It felt like I'd aged 10 years. My body was exhausted. My joints ached like I had arthritis. My gut was a mess from all the medication. And emotionally, I was a wreck. Every time I felt a twinge down there, every time I got a fever or a sore throat, I panicked, terrified the monster had come back. When Dr. Patel cleared me at my final hospital checkup, she was clear about one thing. Allison, your body fought hard, but the damage might not be fully reversible. There's scarring in your reproductive system. Future pregnancies might be difficult or impossible. I nodded, holding the paper she handed me, though the words blurred together. It wasn't even about kids. Not right then. It was the loss that hit me. The loss of choice. The loss of control. The realization that my body, once strong and healthy, wasn't invincible. When I got home, I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. I started reading everything I could about antibiotic-resistant gonorrhea. And what I found scared me even more. In 2022 alone, the CDC had reported over 700,000 cases of gonorrhea. Experts estimated that at least half of those cases were showing some level of antibiotic resistance. Some strains had already evolved beyond the last line of defense, meaning soon we could face gonorrhea that is literally untreatable. I stumbled onto forums filled with stories like mine, young women, men, even teenagers who had been blindsided by resistant infections, people who had lost their fertility, their health, their relationships, people who were living with chronic pain because a simple infection had spiraled out of control. And yet, barely anyone was talking about it. The news barely mentioned it. Sex ed in schools was still stuck in the early 2000s, teaching kids to just use a condom like that was foolproof. Doctors still tossed antibiotics around like candy for every cough and sniffle. I slammed my laptop shut, overwhelmed. How had we let it get this bad? Why weren't we screaming about it from every rooftop, every news channel, every classroom? I thought back to the first clinic visit, the rushed diagnosis, the automatic prescription, the assumption that antibiotics would fix it like they always had. We were treating an ancient enemy with outdated weapons. And now the enemy had evolved. I realized then. This wasn't just my story. It was our story. The beginning of something bigger and much, much scarier. It's been almost a year now since that day I first noticed the burning. A year filled with doctor visits, therapy sessions, and long nights staring at the ceiling, wondering how different my life would have been if anyone, had told me the truth about what was happening. I don't date much anymore. It's not because I'm ashamed. It's because I've learned to be careful, to ask hard questions, to trust my body even when doctors tell me not to worry. I've joined advocacy groups, spoken at local colleges, even given a few awkward talks at high schools. I tell them everything, that gonorrhea isn't just a simple STD anymore. That superbugs are real and they're not coming someday, they're here. That if we don't stop misusing antibiotics, we're going to lose them altogether. The truth is, medicine isn't invincible. We've spent decades treating antibiotics like they were endless. Like we could just pop a pill and fix anything, but bacteria are smarter than we give them credit for, and now they're fighting back harder than ever. Some days, when I feel that familiar ache in my pelvis, a phantom reminder of the scarring, I get angry all over again. Not at myself. The system that failed me. The system that is still failing so many others. There are small things you can do. Finish every antibiotic prescription. Even if you feel better. Don't demand antibiotics for every cough or sore throat. Practice safe sex every single time. Get tested regularly even if you think you're safe. Talk about it. Openly. Honestly. Without shame, because the shame, the silence, that's what lets infections like this spread. That's what lets superbugs win. I used to think that something like this could never happen to me. I was careful. I was smart. I trusted the system, but none of that protected me. And if you're listening to this thinking it could never happen to you, I need you to hear me. It can. It's already happening. And if we don't change course fast, the future we're facing is one where a scratch, a cough, or a kiss could kill us. This is not just my story. This is a warning. This is your wake-up call before it's too late.